Hot. A week ago, 3 hours more to the north, we were racing at Sebring, and we opened the 7th season with Tucker Sawyer winning at the road course, and now we go to more controlled atmosphere, if you will, but a more chaotic race. The 1.5 mile Homestead-Miami Speedway will play host to round number 2 of the ABN Champ Car season. I'm Rick James with Liv Hayward by my side. Liv, it's almost as if we're starting the season from scratch again, because everything that happened last week at the 3+ mile road course at Sebring does not apply here.
Yeah, this is what makes these machines so exciting to watch, and what makes the championship battles that they bring so fascinating. We'll bring up what are the current points standings. We've got 20 races on the calendar. Tucker Sawyer taking home the win and nearly every point in round number 1. But you can't win a championship just running the road courses. You've got 10 oval rounds that you've got to contend with as well. No fast pairs, high speed racing, close quarters. And if you are a road racing machine, you've got to be able to adapt. You've got to learn the new style to find some success in this series.
Practice quickly coming to an end, and the checkered flag, there it is. Checkered flag is out. We're going to end this practice session, and we're going to move on to a qualifying session here. Now, Liv, you know more than I do. This is our 7th season of ABN, is that right?
Absolutely, season 7.
It's going to be single car qualifying, unlike last week where we had group qualifying. So each driver is going to go out in time over the next 10 minutes and complete how many laps? It's going to be 2 laps here. So they're going to get 1 warm-up lap, come to the green, essentially, and then go from there. Please,
4.
Do I have it wrong? Go on.
It's 4 laps. It is the fastest of those 4. And so as we follow what is going to be Zach Mitchell on the way out of pit lane, got the overlays correct this time. You can see just about a hint of the Aussie flag on the helmet there. One of our rookies for this season. And actually, he's going to pull off early and do a reset here. Didn't get to the line, so does not use up one of his 4 laps. But what we tend to see is, as we go on board, maybe with Mo Perry, his teammate over at Taylor Mills Racing, they'll sometimes run a 2-lap run here. So we get so close to the wall there, to complete lap number 1 and set first time on the board. And then they can reset and they can go again. No restrictions on how you use your 4 laps in oval qualifying. It's just who can get around this 1.5 miles as fast as possible.
So 4 laps total, the best of those 4 laps over the next 10 minutes. And this being the qualifying session, we saw a lot of drivers take lots of laps in practice, but of course, the practice laps are only going to tell you so much, because once you have 16 drivers drafting off of each other, the car is entirely different to what you had in practice.
Yeah, and the key thing is as well, in a long run, we're at 80% tanks for these oval rounds, 56 litres, nearly 15 gallons of fuel. You're expecting about 40 laps or so to be run on a tank and on a set of tyres in race conditions. Here, you've got to make it 1 lap. You've got to make it the best lap you can. You see Mo Perry does reset. We'll follow on board with Christina Ryan's just gone fastest. We'll see if we can catch her and see if she improves, whether she also opts to reset. First driver into the 25.5s here. I am also waiting to see what Edson Santos, the Brazilian in the number 20, can do, because we know how fast he is. You see there, Christina is going to slow it down, is going to reset, and is going to take another run at this. We'll see what Evan Eisenman is able to do in the number 66 Ascent Racing Machine midway through lap number 1 here. Him and Colin McDonough in the 39, both rookies, both new to the series, and looking to see what they can get out of their first oval race in the campaign.
A lot of rookies we had last week, and it looks like we're going to have 6 rookies who will attempt to start this race. And last week's winner, Tucker Sawyer, in that 6th position so far. Right now he's tied with Colin McDonough in the sticker robot machine. Mo Perry at the top of the tree so far by 3/100ths of a second, ahead of Christina Ryan. McDonough about halfway into his run. Christina Ryan now coming up to her final lap. Then Bryce Saucier in the 07 is going to start his run. One of those Nick Pressey machines. And for me, Liv, I want to see how these Pressey machines are going to work together in tonight's race.
Christina Ryan to the pole. And yeah, the teamwork, it's been a huge factor in Champ Car this season. Let's go on board now with Edson Santos to see what he can do, whether he can take the top spot. But we saw last season an intense battle between TMR and NPM, where the drivers were really going head-to-head to see who could both work together in the race, but also work together on strategy, work together on tools, which are going to be very important in these rounds. Edson Santos' first lap comes in. It is going to slot him quite far down. He's going to warm up for this second lap now, down to the low line. But it's about sharing that information with each other. That'll springboard you to the top, maybe more so than just having a car to know you can trust on the high banter.
Santos currently going through his second lap, and he's going to go top of the board, 25:43. Edson Santos goes top of the tree for now. Nick Pressey looks like he's still waiting at the end of pit road only after completing 1 lap, and the majority of the field has completed their run. Looks like Santos is going to park it after 2 laps, and then I don't know if these drivers are waiting on the track to cool down or not, but as it stands, Santos, Pressey, Saucier have yet to complete their qualifying runs.
Yeah, I do suspect that they might go out one more time, just see what they can do. But I've just pulled up the stats here for the number 20, Edson Santos, and I think that really says it all. This is a very quick driver, very precise in that 1-lap run. 18 starts, a lot of them on oval. I think an oval-only campaign for him this season. 7 pole positions, but at times he struggled to convert those into wins. Just 2 checkered flags to his name. He found some consistency last season. We'll see if he can find some improvements on that. But we'll follow on board with Bryce Saucier, one of our most tenured drivers in the series. 50 race starts. This will be number 51. You'd see very consistent in those top 10s, top 5s. 3 wins to his name. Just the 1 pole, and to try and find a second, but he's currently 4/10ths off the pace.
Saucier still on the move, and now Nick Pressey leaving the pits in his 94 as well. So Saucier leaves to resume his qualifying run. This will be his 3rd lap. And Saucier now about to complete lap number 3. Nick Pressey is going to complete his 1st lap here shortly, and he's going to start his 2nd. So, I'm sorry, he's going to complete his 2nd lap, and he's going to start his 3rd. I've got it backwards. But anyway, it's interesting that Pressey leaves 1 lap after Saucier as if it makes no difference, but maybe there's something that Nick Pressey knows that Bryce Saucier doesn't. So we'll see over the next couple of laps who gets the upper hand. Right now, 25:43. The best time to beat Edson Santos, still in the pits, and he has not completed his run either.
Yeah, Bryce Saucier jumped up, I think, 4 spots to P8 there. Found some pace, maybe some help from his teammate of Pressey. Pressey gone for another slow lap here. This will be his final attempt, only 2:05.4 last time by, but we've seen that the longer stint, if you warm into it and save your tyres for the hot lap, can really benefit you here. We'll see if Pressey can find anything on the run to the line. Just 1600th between him and pole, but he's not going to find anything this time by. His first run is going to slot him onto the 2nd row of the grid. And it looks like with about 2 minutes left in the session, We've got no one attempting another run. Potentially Edson Santos. Now, I do want to see, actually, if we head down to his car and we head and listen into his ear. No, he's not there. One thing you often see in these machines, similar to what they do in real life, but with a bit more manual work from our drivers, they've got to warm up the engine a little bit, get it into its operating window, because very finely tuned machines be able to go over 200 miles an hour lap average consistently at a track like this. There are very precise temperatures in the tires, surface and carcass, and they've got very precise temperature ranges for the engine and the coolant. And so it can be very helpful to warm that up before you start your run. This is what Santos would be doing on pit road here if he needed to improve. He'd be revving the engine a little bit, getting the oil temp up to, maybe at least 200 Fahrenheit, maybe a bit higher depending on where you want to try and push the limits of the car. And then you go out for your perfect lap. It's technique that's so crucial at Indianapolis, but any oval where you're mostly flat out is going to be a huge factor. And one of the features that Edson Santos has, and him as well as drivers like Hamilton Akabuizi, who lit up the series last year, was knowing how to get a one perfect qualifying lap to put yourself, again, nearly a tenth of a second clear. That is a 209.3 lap average for Edson Santos, and that will be our pole position for tonight.
Qualifying coming to a close, and the final seconds ticking away. So the Brazilian Edson Santos is going to sit top of the tree next to the American Christina Ryan. They will be leading off our race at Homestead, and the Sao Paulo native will join us in just a moment. We'll talk to him and we'll get this race underway. Give us just a moment. We're going to have our pole sitter, Edson Santos. Seven and change left in this week's warm-up at Homestead-Miami. Drivers struggling to come to grips, literally and figuratively, with their race cars. Right now, Bryce Saucier has the fastest time in this warm-up, 25.91. He is level with rookie Colin McDonough. Eli Sasek sits third, but really in the warm-up, Liv, with drivers crashing a bit, drivers trying to almost push their cars as hard as they can. Go on, I'm sorry.
Speaking of crashing, a huge incident there for Bryce Saucier off turn 4. I think that was Mo Perry or Zach Mitchell did a great job to avoid.
So in this warm-up session, drivers are going to keep it moving forward. Nick Pressey in the 94. Right now running 4th right now. The Nick Pressey Motorsports machines are going to be trying to work a bit closer here, so look for the 94 and the 07 to work together. But Bryce Saucier, who right now has run the fastest lap so far in the warm-up, sits motionless in the pits. Looking at drivers like Big Pink, Ed Ward. I'm sorry, I said Ed Ward, excuse me, George Ward. George Ward in that 36. Looking at drivers like Zach Mitchell in the 6.9. As rookies, Liv, is it better for them to hold back and wait for some of the dust to settle in this race?
Yeah, I mean, we've got, 125 laps to work through. We're going to have 2 full pit cycles, at least. Likely going to have a couple of incidents and a few cautions. It's a fairly hot track here, just under a ton Fahrenheit, and there's going to be mistakes made by people. I think the key thing is going to be, especially for people like McDonough, who has those NPM teammates who are so closely gelled together, people like Zach Mitchell, who has Mo Perry to lean on for advice, relying on the help of those teammates to just rein you in a little bit, to let you know that it's not quite go time yet, to let you know when go time is. I think that's how you're going to get through your opening oval race without a major incident. And ultimately, getting to the checkered flag is likely to get you at least a few positions just right off the bat. You can fight for the remaining stuff later.
Some of the drivers using the most of the warm-up session, other drivers deciding to sit back, do nothing at all. You've got the 39 of Colin McDonough, who's just coming out up to racing speed. Then looking at drivers like Edson Santos, who go top of the tree, just like he did in qualifying. And the Sao Paulo pilot looking to establish dominance, winning the qualifying session, looking to be fastest in the warm-up, and of course, looking to complete the race quicker than anybody else. Saucier just under a 10th behind, and rookie Colin McDonough 3rd in the tree so far. And Liv, if you're sitting top of the tree, there's not really a lot of work for you to do. If I'm Mo Perry, who so far has only done 3 laps in the warm-up session and sits 12th, I'm looking to see if I can squeeze anything else in the last 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, there's a level of adjustment in terms of getting back onto the race setup. On the oval especially, the difference between a clean air 1-lap qualifying setup and the, less aggressive long run set, it's going to be quite significant. The same is true of the fit setups that we're working with in this series. And so I think some of it is going to be just dialing in back into your tools, getting used to what you learn. Maybe the track conditions have changed a little bit. You want to try and adjust those slightly. But you're going to keep learning as the race goes on. If you're someone who's qualified towards the back half of the field, you're using those opening sort of 40 laps or so just to try and dial in, to test some things out. As that was Nicholas Pressey, I believe, stricken on the front stretch. You see Perry testing out the high line there, got a driver to the low side, and you're going to have to try and get comfortable with those different lines. I think the low side, potentially the fastest way around in clean air, but if you've got a car in front of you throwing that weight back towards you, you're not going to find any grip at all down there. So going to that high line is going to both preserve your tyres and get you around a little bit faster. It's just about not being too aggressive early, and that includes on your adjustments, that includes on your trips onto and off pit road, which I know some drivers have been practicing. The pit road here, you have to enter using the access lane in turns 3 and 4, otherwise you'll get a penalty. It can be very tricky down there trying to carry speed on the flat with a car that's designed for, you know, the high banks of Homestead-Miami.
1 minute and change remaining in the warm-up session, and Santos still sits top of the tree. Bryce Saucier in the 07 still gyrating around the racetrack and trying to generate any more speed out of his race machine as the time ticks down. Nick Pressey motionless. Eli Sasek, who's completed the most laps in this warm-up session, still turning laps and trying to crack the top 5 in the final 90 seconds. Fans, get comfortable if you have a drink, if you have a snack. If you don't have a drink and a snack, this is the time to get one. The cars are going to roll soon, and you're going to want to watch these opening laps of round 2. We're from iRacing's Homestead-Miami, and we'll be racing in less than 60 seconds. Cars grading for 125 laps of racing from iRacing's Homestead-Miami Speedway. 3 hours south of Sebring, 4 hours south of the Daytona International Speedway. We were at Sebring last week. We'll be at Daytona later in the season. Liv, give me a few picks as we go through the starting lineup. Santos on pole, Ryan on the outside of row number 1.
Yeah, Trina Ryan, Season 2 champion, I think is going to be a strong contender for this, but Edson Santos, a master of the ovals, I think it's going to be a solid pick as long as he can keep his nose clean and stay on the right fuel number. Further back, Mo Perry, Nicholas Pressey. I think Pressey's also potentially a good shout as we head back towards row number 3.
Pressey and Perry on that second row. Colin McDonough, Evan Eisenman rolling in row number 3. Coming through turn number 2, you see some drivers using the access road, some drivers getting out onto the racetrack, maybe just trying to get some early temperature in the race car. Going through that 4th row, Eli Sasek and the French pilot Lily Pelletier-Sharp looking into row number 5. You've got Carmen's, if I've got this right, Carmen Tien on the outside of that 5th row. Tucker Sawyer, last week's winner, sitting right to her inside. The rookie Australian, Zach Mitchell. Big Pink George Ward sitting in the penultimate row. My man Dakota Pierce in the sticker robot machine on the outside of the final row with the Argentine Matias Marcomini getting ready to go racing for 125 laps of action. The pace car peels off. Controlled insanity begins at Homestead. The green flag is out, and we are racing in the ABN Champ Car Series.
Ryan already pinching Edson Santos quite tight on that low line, but he's going to have the run off the corner into turn number 2. Nicholas Pressey now looking to the outside, trying to make it 3 wide, but they're going to fan out a little wall tap further back. That might have been from Carmen Sienna, and it is the Edson Santos trailing away to lead lap number 1.
Through that first corner, now coming out of 1 into turn number 2. I'm watching Evan Eisenman, Tucker Sawyer, and the TMR machine, Zach Mitchell, 3 wide out of that second corner, and Mitchell with a run, head full of steam, nose down and ready to go to work. Last week's winner, Sawyer, sitting in 9th, already up 2 places from where he started. Liv out of 4 and down the front straight. The French pilot sharp on her own. Santos on an island by himself at the front.
Yeah, the clean air really paying dividends here for Edson Santos. Has a gap about 0.4 of a second right now, and then Pressey, the only driver, really keeping up. Christina Ryan, Mo Perry falling behind to maybe a little bit of a save as we string out single file. But actually, we've got quite a pack here. Mo Perry falls back off turn number 4, and it's going to be Colin McDonough up 2 positions and already trying to join his teammate at the front of the field. Commentator again is going to scrape the wall on the high side there.
Out of that second corner, Zach Mitchell now looking to the inside line on Mo Perry. Up ahead, Sienna and Sharp might do battle, and Eli Sasek trying to stay in that top 5. It's Sienna in the red car to his left-hand side, headed towards that first corner. Liv in the early laps so far, we've learned that Santos is a force to be reckoned with, and already Nick Pressey has lost a friend. Bryce Saucier about to go a lap down.
Oh yeah, early incidents here. We'll have to have a look back at what's happened there, but I think Bryce Saucier with a pit stop on that opening lap, potentially. We'll see if we can queue up a replay of what this might have been.
Liv, once we get set with that, we want to take a look at what happened with Mark Amini in the double 7. Out of that first corner, there was a huge incident on lap number 1 that we missed. It was Mark Amini, and it looks like not Ward, but one of the sister cars to Ward. It was Dakota Pearson, the 38.
Yeah, and this is what happened, just to plow up the track from Mark Amini, the number 77. Dakota Pearson, nowhere to go behind, is going to ramp off the Argentine driver, and they're going to end up in the outside wall, clear of the field behind all the drivers ahead, so no cautions going to come out here. I think we saw at the same time Bryce Saucier pass through pit lane, so I think potentially a penalty being applied for the 07 that had to be served there. He's come out of pit lane and cause a little bit of trouble potentially for Edson Santos, who's just a couple of seconds behind. What this is going to do, it's going to maybe let his teammate Nicholas Pressey catch up, who's currently being chased back down by Christina Ryan in the number 80.
They have been at it back and forth over the last several laps. Looking further back to 8th, Zach Mitchell, Tucker Sawyer separated by 0.8 now, but battles and packs starting to break out. George Ward not letting go of Evan Eisenman. Mo Perry still has a link up to Tucker Sawyer. Zach Mitchell, Eli Sasek will be paired together as Lily Pelletier Sharp and Carmen Sienna are linked together as well. Liv, it's almost as if we have 2 car tandems that are going to battle throughout this first pit window. Santos, 2.25 seconds ahead. He is unbothered. Pressey and Ryan still battle for second. And Liv, how many laps will they have on each of these green flag stints?
So it's a fairly hot track, so they might actually be a little bit lower on fuel burn than what we expected, but the numbers we calculated before the race were expecting between 38 and 45 laps, so potentially on the edge of that 2-stop window. They might do a little bit of save in these opening stints to make it on 2 stops and not have to make a third, but no one seems that interested in backing down right now. We've got side-by-side action. I think the reason we're split into these 2-car packs is that you've really got to try and find the clean air. So you've got one car taking the low side air, one car taking the air up at the fence, and it's very difficult at that point for a third car to find enough clean air on the nose to be able to keep up. And that's where you get those sort of gaps of maybe a second back between this battle here for P5 and that battle between Mitchell and Sasek for 7th.
Battles forming and breaking apart all over the place. Lily Pelletier Sharp in that 71, just ahead of Carmen Sienna, and then drivers sort of waiting until that green flag pit stop mark, if we get that far. Christina Ryan and Nick Pressey, now separated by 0.3 of a second, live from 6th back down through 12th. Every driver seems to be in a different situation regarding battles and fuel, but not separated by more than a second. With the draft coming into such a big play here, would it be more wise to sit in that draft, save what fuel you can, or is it better to see what you can get out of the car now?
It depends on how much you can save fuel while staying in the draft. There's, of course, all the different fuel maps available in these IR18s. Maps 1 through 5 are your full push to full save maps. But if you knock it into map 5 and try and save for that 45 lap stint, you might end up being dropped off the back of the field very quickly. You might go a lap down and you'll lose that slipstream that was meant to be helping you out to begin with. So it might be about maybe sitting in map 3 if you can to get a little bit of save, but it's about doing what you can right now without falling back too much to make your job a little bit easier throughout the rest of the race.
16 laps into the 125-lap competition, Lily Pelletier Sharp, 1/4 of a second ahead of Carmen Sienna. Zach Mitchell, 0.6 behind, and now starting to gain. He can smell the fumes coming off of those race cars, only 17 laps into this one. Further up ahead, Nick Pressey and the 39 of Colin McDonough. These two teammates will battle side by side, while Lily Pelletier Sharp and Carmen Sienna are 1.7 seconds behind those two. They can catch up to that draft as well. Live 3rd through 7th could be a lot closer than we think in these next few laps.
And not just that, but McDonough, Pressey, and Sharp are all teammates on Nicholas Pressey eMotorsport. We saw Pressey was on the back of Justina Ryan, has now fallen back and is running lap times about 0.3 slower than what he was able to run before. In fact, maybe half a second down on Santos and Ryan. I wonder whether he's fallen into a save. He's letting the 39 lead, who wants to try and get some experience running quick laps at the front of the field. And the 94's knocked it into a bit of a save mode to try and extend that pit window into the 40s.
Colin McDonough up 3 places from where he started. Zach Mitchell up 6 from where he started. Progress in each of these drivers' camps, and Zach Mitchell, the rookie, the Australian, now looks to the inside of Carmen Sienna. This is going to be for the 6th position. Lily Pelletier Sharp, 0.8 ahead of that battle, but with Mitchell on the move, he's going to catch up to Pelletier Sharp and take Sienna with him. 20 laps into this race so far. George Ward, Mo Perry now getting close for battle.
Yeah, and Zach Mitchell has climbed from the 7th row of the grid now. He's now up to P6 and is within striking distance of those 2 or 3 cars ahead as well. Doing a great job leading the way for TMR. Further back, his teammate Mo Perry has gone the opposite direction. Started up in 3rd and has fallen all the way down to 10th. I'd imagine that if anyone is on the fuel save strategy, it is the number 54 right now. The biggest drop in the field so far. So maybe a split decision here for the Ford engine drivers. One going for the long run, one trying to make some hay right now.
Looking at the battle for 4th, less than 0.2 between Lily Pelletier Sharp and Nick Pressey. And closing side by side, one running the top lane, one running the bottom lane, the 71 on the outside in that 4th position, 0.2 ahead of Nick Pressey in that 94. And now Pelletier Sharp moves into 4th. Top three have separated themselves. Santos 1.2 seconds away from Christina Ryan. And over the last 5 laps, Christina Ryan has been chipping into Edwin Santos' lead. So the 2-0 leading ahead of the 8-0, and that gap starts to shrink the closer we get to the pits. 4th place, still up for grabs, Liv.
Yeah, and further back, I'm noticing as the 07 race has gone a lap down, we had an incident earlier on in the race for the number 9 of Eli Sasset. He's down on pit lane. We'll see if we can get a quick look as to what's happened for the number 16, and that may have been a disconnect. I'm not seeing any sign of him on our radar here. Yes, he's back out of the pit lane, and yeah, I think has had a disconnect, so he's now trying to fend off the leaders, but he's fallen down 6 spots and is currently 7 laps down.
Down 7 positions from where he started. Mo Perry sits 4/10 ahead of Evan Eisenman. Drivers starting to get spread out as we prepare for these green flag runs. 25 laps in, we have just over 100 laps to go. Sasek himself just went green, 26:05. Back up to racing speed. Liv, 10th place, getting close. Mo Perry ahead of Evan Eisenman.
Mo Perry has not... This is the thing with Mo Perry. His fastest lap time in this race is a 26.7. The leader, Edson Santos, is currently running that lap time, but started with a 25.9. I'm pretty sure the 54 has been running around in map 5 from the drop of the green flag here. He's fallen down to 10th. He's now maybe get caught by Evan Eisenman, but I'm not sure he's concerned about that right now. He's willing to let the rookie through and to give him some draft towards the front of the field, because I think this is a long game being played and a long run for the 54 right now.
5th place, Zach Mitchell. He just went green, 26:29. He sits half a second behind the French pilot, Lily Pelletier-Sharp, and he has been gaining. So far, he's up 8 places from where he started. Carmen Sienna now behind the Brooklyn pilot, Nick Pressey, and the Ohio driver wants to crack that top 6 before the green flag cycle. Last week's winner, Tucker Sawyer, in that 19 machine. He's up 2 places from where he started, comfortably, driving behind George Ward, and at the front, Liv, Edson Santos regains that 2-second gap over Christina Ryan.
Yeah, great lap last time by a 26.6. The number 80, struggling to get into the 26s at all, has a 27.1. So a great jump for the number 20 to re-extend that lead. But we're maybe going to start looking towards pit road here. If you're on the 3-stop strategy, this is when you would want to take that first trip and that first set of tires. The question is, who is going to pull the trigger on that, and who is going to try and extend towards lap 40 and beyond to try and make it without that 3rd stop?
Now, tell me, because going out to lap 40, on quick math, that tells us you're going to pit at 40, 80, and then presumably, if you haven't saved, 120, which is 5 laps short of the finish. At some point, if you're going all the way out to lap 40, you might as well stretch 41, 42 if possible. Otherwise, you're going to be on the back foot by the time your second stint is done. Tell me, because I'm wondering, what would be the benefit for a driver stretching out to lap 40? And do we think that a driver is going to try and go beyond?
I'm pretty confident that Mo Perry will try and stretch it all the way to lap 42, maybe even 43. I think the reason you try and go a little bit short right now is, first of all, you had to run under pacing to start this race, so that'll burn off a little bit of fuel, as efficient as the pace car map in these cars is. But secondly, you're expecting a caution at some point in this race. You're not sure when, but you just want to make sure you're the last person onto pit road if possible, so you're not at risk of being trapped to lap down if a caution flies mid-cycle and having to take that wave round, because you'll have the oldest tyres, you'll be at the back of the field, and you might still be on the back foot trying to make your fuel number.
34 laps into this race. so far. Edson Santos from Sao Paulo leads by 2.7 seconds ahead of Christina Ryan, and where Ryan was showing progress consistently, now over the last 3 laps, Ryan has been losing at least 1/10 of a second. Looking to Colin McDonough in the 39. Last time around, he was a 10th faster than Christina Ryan. And who's that spinning out of turn number 4? It's Bryce Saucier in the 07. One of the Nick Pressey cars. He looks like he tagged the inside line. Bryce has not pitted. He's 4 spots down from where he started, and he's going to have to climb all the way back up and live this coming right before pit stops.
Yeah, Bryce Saucier was running 1 lap down behind Christina Ryan. After taking that pass through to start the race, he was maybe holding up the number 8 a little bit, but you see out of turn 4, a little bit aggressive on the tools, hits that middle seam, spins to the inside, and fortunately keeps it out of the wall and out of harm's way on the apron. We will stay green, but that's another half a lap or so lost for the 07, who is going to need a caution to try and deal himself back into this race now.
Santos still at the front, and that marker is about to extend. There it is, 3 seconds ahead of Christina Ryan. Zach Mitchell has blown my expectations away, Liv. 8/10 behind Lily Pelletier-Sharp, and he's shown so much strength in this first stint. But tell me, is it going to be the same story when he's got fresh tires and fresh fuel?
We'll see. I was a little bit scared through turns 3 and 4 because that was an awfully high line through the middle of the corner. He keeps it out of the wall. But I think the question marks are really going to be answered in these next 5 laps. We're on 38. We'll see who is going to make that dive down to pit road and who has been able to save a little bit. It looks like Lily Pelletier-Sharp will be the first one to make that pit stop on lap 38. She is going to be confirmed on that 3-stop strategy in the number 71 machine. Her teammates all stay out for the time being, so we'll see what they're able to do, but we'll follow with Pelletier-Sharp. She got a nice clean entry on that access road. It looks like Christina Ryan will follow in this time by. She's running slow through turns 3 and 4 here. Will be a fresh set of tires for Lily Pelletier-Sharp. And a nice clean 7.7 stop for the French driver.
Battles on the racetrack, Liv. I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Battles on the racetrack here. We saw Mo Perry, Evan Eisenman just swapping spots briefly there over the last couple of laps there. And at the front, Santos still has not pitted. We're now up to lap 41. Back to the drivers you were saying that were in the pits, the cars that are motionless there. You have Pressey, you have Sharp, just waiting for cars going around them. For drivers like Zach Mitchell, he's going to be stretching it as far as he can, just like Edwin Santos, and they're outdoing us because we see that they're already about to complete lap 41 on this fuel run.
Yeah, this is definitely the ideal situation for these lead drivers. I mean, Santos is on that fuel save number already. Zach Mitchell, Carmen Sienna also looking for that. I think down on pit road is going to be the 96. So she's just about on track for that number, but we'll have to save a little bit more to account for losing fuel under pacing here to start the race. Edson Santos actually will stay out even longer. Start lap 43. If a caution flies now, if someone makes a mistake on pit lane, this could be disastrous for the field. As you see on that tower to the left, only 5 cars on the lead lap. Those are all cars that have yet to pit. Zach Mitchell, Mo Perry teammates both making that call now. Finally, Edson Santos at the end of lap 43 will come in, locks up the inside tires, gets down to speed, will not pick up a black flag here, and luckily get a brand new set of Firestones with the crew right here.
The leader is finally in after much deliberation. 44 laps on the clock as Santos, motionless, will now give up the lead to last week's winner, Tucker Sawyer, in the 19. Evan Eisenman up 3 places from where he started. He has yet to pit and live. Those are the last 2. All eyes on them.
Yeah, a little bit of a slow stop from Santos, but I guess had to take a full tank of fuel there 56 liters, 15 gallons or so. We'll see whether Tucker Sawyer actually does stay out another lap. So it's stretched it all the way to 45. This was at the top end of what we thought was possible. You see, though, of course, Santos only about half a lap behind here and back up to racing speed, just clicking across the start-finish now. Tucker Sawyer will finally make that turn down onto pit road. I imagine his teammate of Evan Eisenman will follow. No, will stay out one more time. That'll be a lap lead for the number 66. That's a good way to start off your record book in the series. But he's going to have to pay the piper very soon indeed. And we have a lot of cars who are going to be good on fuel. You see, actually, potentially, the 66 missing pit lane. Is he going to be... He's still staying out, but I'm wondering if he's a little bit... Or maybe going to run out on the track here, because he does not look very fast compared to these cars on fresh tyres that are flying back around.
Eisenman leading 46 laps complete so far and looking to complete lap 47. Looks like he's staying out so far. He will use the access road this time by into turn number 3. Livy's on that 2-stop strategy.
Edson Santos only 10 seconds behind, though, and also going to be on a matching strategy here. You see, as Eisenman tiptoes it through the access road and gets towards pit lane speed, it's going to get it slowed down, but up at the top of the screen, that is number 20, re-inheriting the race lead from the number 66, and the rest of the field is in a really tough spot here. Christina Ryan, just 2 seconds back, but 4 laps shorter on fuel. She's going to need to save some more to make it. Lily Pelletier-Sharp even more so. The next car who we're confident is good on fuel at this point is maybe Carmen Sienna, 15 seconds back from our current race leader. Edson Santos is putting on an absolute clinic right now.
George Ward went green last time around. He's up 5 places from where he started, and Liv Zach Mitchell is on the move again.
Yeah, Mitchell with quite a slow stop on pit lane there. Not sure whether there was damage or maybe missed his box, but he dropped 5 seconds to a lot of his competitors. That's cost him a couple of spots here, but he's back to work once again, trying to get after George Ward and Carmen Sienna. He's got 1 more lap of fuel in the tank, so can extend that little bit longer, can push that little bit harder in this stint, but has some ground to make up after that mistake on pit road.
2/10 was the gap between them last time around. Carmen Sienna and George Ward also seeing the gap decrease last time through. Sienna slower than Pressey, but George Ward now trying to get that draft off of her. Ward almost matching times, but Mitchell closing up fast.
Yeah, getting 0.3 of a second in the number 69 last time by. Gap is down to just 2 seconds between the two of them. The car directly in front is the lap car. That's Eli Sassett, who had that disconnect and is currently running 6 laps down. He has to make a pit stop soon. But for our leaders, this is where the juice of this battle is. You see 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th all pit a lot earlier. They're going to have slightly older tyres, but they're going to also be in debt on that fuel run till the end of the race. It's really a battle between Santos, Sienna, and Ward in terms of that 2-stop strategy. And for the rest of the top 5, they'll have to try and make something magic work to try and fight back against the rest of the field.
We saw this trend last time, Liv, where Ryan started to gain. The gap between the top 2 is fewer than 2 seconds now, and one of the closer gaps on the racetrack here. But again, Santos now starting to spread out again, and he's going to go on that run where he extends that big gap. What does Ryan do differently?
I think if you're Christina Ryan, you have to brush off the temptation to go and chase after Edson Santos again. You've got work to do. You've got to really make that fuel save work in this stint. I don't think that the 3-stop is going to work out in this race, considering that Santos has the track position on the 2-stop strategy now. I think if you're in that number 80, you've got to bring it down into map 4, map 5. Maybe use this lapped car of, I believe that is Tucker Sawyer ahead, and just sit behind them for a little bit. Get that fuel number back in the right direction, and then try and take on the rest of the top 5 on the strategy advantage rather than taking that extra trip down pit lane.
Zach Mitchell now not gaining as much as he was on George Ward. Go to that battle, and what is Zach Mitchell doing different this time around, or George Ward doing different, being that they pitted around the same time? Surely there's got to be some difference that is stunting Mitchell's progress this stint than what had happened last time around.
It could just be falling out of that rhythm. You sort of rely in these cars of being consistent, almost metronomic in how you run the laps. I think if you've made a mistake early in the race and it's put you on the back foot, it can be difficult to really pick yourself back up and find that consistent rhythm again. It looks like George Wood is doing a great job fending off that charge from Zach Mitchell. The gap is still holding at 2 seconds here. That's more than you'd expect from Dirty Air, but to be fair, if you look at what Zach Mitchell has to deal with, there's lap cars ahead, there's Eli Sassett just ahead, Bryce Sosa just behind. Could be playing a little bit of havoc in that Dirty Air, maybe something that the 69 is not used to dealing with, being a rookie in this series.
9 cars on the lead lap, and it starts to dwindle as Santos goes quicker. Carmen Sienna in that 96, almost on an island by herself, 4.5 seconds behind Nick Pressey. George Ward, almost equidistant from Sienna and Mitchell, both Ward and Mitchell up 5 places from where they started. And Liv, this is almost the lull in the race where we started out with drivers battling just neck and neck, and now it's almost drivers are settling in for this second run, just trying to see how far they can go on a tank of fuel.
Yeah, I think a couple of drivers will probably be wishing that either that lap 1 incident or that incident with Bryce Sosa on the front stretch had brought out a caution and bunched the field up. Because as it stands, the fuel number's right in that balance where drivers are being forced to play that sort of maths game more than the wheel-to-wheel battle. You're setting yourself up to try and give yourself the resources you need in the final stint. Hit as late as possible, give yourself the shortest run to the checkers so you have the most fuel to burn and the freshest tyres to use. That's where you make your attacks. Zach Mitchell has cleared that lap traffic.
1 car's off at a turn number 4. George Ward has gone, and Big Pink has crashed again. Car 36, who was up 4 places from where he started, has bit the dust out of the 4th corner, and he's got to keep that race car moving forward to avoid towing to pit road. He's still in motion, but using that bottom lane, and drivers now have to be careful getting around him, and it looks like the word is out. Everybody using the middle lane to navigate around George Ward, who hobbles and limps out of turn number 2, hoping to reach that access road and safely gain access into turn number 3. Carmen Sienna now on the outside of that purple and white car going into that 3rd corner. Ward does finally reach the access road, and with what is essentially a 3-wheeled race car, will be coming off of turn number 4 into the pits. Back onto drivers that are less damaged. Christina Ryan, Lily Pelletier-Sharp. I'm sorry. I was going to say 6 places apart. They're 1 place apart. They're 2 seconds apart from each other. Colin McDonough trying to close that gap as well. And Liv, back to drivers that are of working order. Zach Mitchell starts the move again, up 6 places from where he started and 20 laps away from his next pit stop.
Yeah, I mean, his job on making that move 7th got made very easy there with that mistake from George Ward up into the outside wall in turn 4. And once again, maybe at the behest of 2nd through 5th, keeping it down on the apron and race control opting to keep it green there. That would have been their chance to get back aligned on the fuel strategy. But the caution will not fly. He stayed green for what is now lap 65 of this 125 lap race. Zach Mitchell is already closing in on Carmen Sienna, has that clean air now. But it's going to come down to when this next group has to make their pit stops. It could be within 10 laps for someone like Pelletier Sharp, who's 27 laps deep into her stint. And
We've had another crash, Liv. I'm going to interrupt you here. Evan Eisenman looks like he's also had an incident in that 66 car off of turn number 4, just like Big Pink, George Ward. And same affliction. The left front tire is damaged, and he will now hobble through the access road to get back into the pits. His car is going to be repaired. Looking at the third place battle, it's only 1 second between Pelletier Sharp and McDonough. The two Nick Pressey cars are getting closer together, Liv.
I'm just looking at this replay here for the number 66. That's very much a mental error, I think, for the rookie of Evan Eisenman, just losing focus after a long green flag run and very late onto the front stretch, finding that outside wall. He's going to be down on pit lane, and I think his race will be over as the cars continue to dwindle on the lead lap. But we stayed green lap 69, and Colin McDonough is closing in on Lily Pelletier Sharp, whose pace 3/10 off the leaders could potentially be settling into a fuel save now.
0.6 of a second between them. Pelletier Sharp slowly extending now out to the 0.7 of a second mark. Liv, Colin McDonough trying to make a move before this next run of pit stops.
Yeah, it's 2 laps fresher on fuel than the 71 ahead. Still has a little bit of work to do to make it on 2 stops, but has slightly fresher tires, has that margin to work with that the 71 does not, and is just trying to close in now, about half a second back, and having to deal with what is a very tricky amount of dirty air ahead. As Pelletier Sharp's to catch the lap car of Tucker Sawyer here, this could be the pick that 39 needs to get into the podium positions.
0.6 of a second, and now dwindling. McDonough has the sniff. He has the draft, Liv. Third place is up for grabs. Half a second and counting.
And it's all going to come down to how polite Tucker Sawyer is, of course, running his own race, trying to fight to stay on the lead lap, has actually the most fuel out of any of these drivers, so is maybe thinking he's actually racing these drivers on cycle, doesn't want to roll over for them. But what it does mean for our French driver here in the 71 is that she's got to run the alternate lane. She'd like to be maybe on the low side, but it's not being given that option by Tucker Sawyer up ahead. This is a lapped car ahead. She'll now go low as 71. I think we'll get out of the way and maybe slot back in for a little bit of fuel save. But they're going to be side by side on exit. And this is really inviting Colin McDonough into the fight. These two are teammates in the battle for third. But I'm sure the 39 would love to make a good impression on his oval debut for the team.
0.3 the gap between them. Pelletier Sharp up 6 places from where she started. Colin McDonough, the American pilot, now right in her wake and trying to get any sort of advantage. 74 laps complete, Liv. We're in the final 50, and the teammates already trying to stake their claim.
McDonough to the inside, you see Pelletier Sharp leaves that lane, leaves a little bit of clean air, and doesn't chop off the nose. But now this could be an attack again into turn 3 from the 39. This could be... No, Sharp will not move aside and settle in behind. This is going to be a continuing battle. And this is going to slow both of them down ultimately. When you can't quite use the full width of the racetrack on entry and exit, you're not able to carry quite as much speed. You're having to fight the tires a bit more. And you see last time by, they lost about 0.4 to our race leader here. And again, the look from Colin McDonough to the inside.
Still neck and neck, 0.2 the gap, while Edson Santos breaks away with a 9.5 second advantage to Christina Ryan. Third place, fiercely contested. Zach Mitchell now getting close to Carmen Sienna, Liv.
Yeah, 2 battles at the same time, both of which cars that are very close on strategy. The teammates up here in the battle for third, where McDonough again goes to the inside and is, I think, going to make it stick here, as maybe Pelletier Sharp prepares for her pit stop. Further back, it's battle with Zach Mitchell and Carmen Sienna. Mitchell catches the apron in turn 3. Is going to have to be careful to not wash out into the wall. It's caught out a few drivers today. The 69 bats it down, slots back in. But we're approaching that final pit stop window. If you can make it to lap 80, it's possible to save to the checkered flag. If you can make it to 85, 87, you've got a clean shot to the checker. We'll see who's able to make it happen.
Colin McDonough was able to get around Lily Pelletier-Sharp and already has a 1 second and counting advantage over the French driver. An excellent slingshot into the third corner. Now looking at Carmen Sienna and Zach Mitchell, 2/10 the gap between them. Mitchell able to get around the Ohio pilot, and the Australian now up 7 places from where he started. Mitchell weaves in front of Sienna, and he dares the American to bring on the challenge. Liv, pit stops coming in the next 5 laps.
Pelletier-Sharp has made it at least 40 laps on this stint already, so that shows that she has put it into a save mode more than before. But it looks like she's going to be down on pit lane this time by, and he's going to have to make a 40-sit stint to get to the end of the race. She'll be praying for a caution before the end of this one. Still out on track, the rest of the field. Colin McDonough, her teammate, now released and will just be less than a second behind Christina Ryan, who has fallen well off Edson Santos. She's in a save mode for sure, running a second a lap off what her fastest times were at the start of the race, but she's extending. She's making it work, 40 laps and counting for the number 80, and she should be able to pivot back onto the A strategy here.
Only 7/10 between them right before pit stops. Liv, who's going to get the advantage?
Christina Ryan is going to maybe peel down here. Is going to have to pit. Is going to stretch 44 to the end. Colin McDonough will follow on the access road. These two are aligned in their race now. Trutta Sawyer will unlap, but is still stuck behind Edson Santos in the lead of this race. It'll be a battle on pit road between these two. We'll see which crew is able to get it done.
Pit stops starting now. Edson Santos, 20 seconds ahead of Nick Pressey, but of course, Santos last pitting on 43. Nick Pressey last pitting on lap 39. After this next cycle goes through, Liv, we're finally going to see where drivers can get to the end on fuel. For me, the magic number is 85. Nick Pressey locks up the left sides coming into the pits. He's down. The top two, Santos and Mitchell, yet to pit.
I think 85 is your comfortable number. It gives you a little bit more to work with, not quite up to full push, but enough to race when you need to pick off those remaining spots. We've got a very close battle here, actually, for third place, I think. Just a couple of seconds between Zach Mitchell and Carmen Sienna. Last two cars on the lead lap, actually, currently. Mo Perry behind will pit after 40 laps. He's got, I think, 41 left to go. We have Pelletier-Sharp back behind her teammate, but maybe having to go full push. She's in a struggle to get to the end here.
Colin McDonough and Lily Pelletier-Sharp, they were separated by 8/10. Now drivers starting to make moves all over the place. Christina Ryan getting up close to Tucker Sawyer. 1 second the gap between them. McDonough goes green, 26:01, and it's his personal best. Fourth place is being contested by 9/10 of a second between Sawyer and Ryan. The second and third place, Mitchell and Sienna, are into the pits. Liv, Edwin Santos, I'm sorry, I keep saying that wrong. Edson Santos continues to lead at an alarming rate, almost Verstappen-like gaps for the rest of the field, but now he's got a challenger. Colin McDonough, Liv, went purple, 25:93, fastest of the race.
It's aggressive from the number 39. He's still got some fuel save to make work. I think he's maybe just trying to stem the bleeding a bit. Edson Santos will pull down to pit lane with just 38 laps to go in the race. He'll be able to go full push here. All of his saving has already been done, which is terrifying if you're the rest of the field, because right now he's got everyone trapped a lap down. A few will cycle back through, but the ones that will are the ones that have to do the most work still. Christina Ryan will unlap. Trutta Sawyer, Colin McDonough, they will all come back through. Trutta Sawyer still yet to make a stop in this cycle. he's run extreme long and maybe praying for a caution right this moment.
Colin McDonough was able to get his way around Tucker Sawyer there. We just saw that. I think we just saw that pass. Now Colin McDonough peeling away from Tucker Sawyer, 6/10 and climbing. Carmen Sienna, on the other hand, she's getting closer to Zach Mitchell, 6/10 and shrinking. The Australian now has to come up with a defense against the American. The second round of pit stops has been complete. It's been all green since we started approximately 40 minutes ago. Edson Santos, his lead is now 11 seconds over Christina Ryan, and barring any late race screw-ups, he just might come away with a gold medal, but plenty of race remaining. Liv, with one eye on the close battle between Carmen Sienna and Zach Mitchell, they pitted on lap 84. They should be good to the end.
They'll have to do a little bit of work, but yeah, they should be good. The drivers I'm concerned about here, obviously Sawyer still has to pit, but Ryan and McDonough aligned on strategy. Both still have a fair bit of work to do, and Pelletier's Sharp is on a window that might just be impossible. She might need the caution to fly to bring herself back into this race. Ryan and McDonough, is going to be a question of who wants to hit go first. And ultimately right now, the 39 is in the wheel tracks of Christina Ryan, the Season 2 champion. And I think it'd do the rookie a world of good to just sit here and wait for his moment. You sit in the draft.
Sawyer's in.
Sawyer's finally in. He's going to drop, I think, potentially 2 laps down here. It'll cycle Pelletier Sharp back up to 4th. And Colin McDonough actually does go through for 2nd place. I think some strategy being played from Christina Ryan. Very smart here to use that slipstream to let McDonough run right now and to try and fight it back in those final 10 laps.
Zach Mitchell now trying to play some really difficult defense against Carmen Sienna, the Australian. Now neck and neck down that front straight. Sienna tightly grouped on the outside, just hearing the echo coming off of the outside turn number 1 wall, side by side through 1 and 2. Sienna on the high side has the advantage and the line, and behind them, Mo Perry now starts to creep into frame. At the front, Edwin Santos can't catch him, but 2nd place now getting a bit closer. Colin McDonough and Christina Ryan 8/10 apart. Back to 6th and 7th, Liv 3/10, and they're still not separate. Edson Santos with an insurmountable lead over Colin McDonough, but looking back to 4th and 5th. Lily Pelletier Sharp, Nick Pressey separated just by half a second. Liv looking at the 94. He sits behind that 71 and closing in for the pass.
Yeah, and this is the key factor. Pelletier Sharp is going to be so short on fuel here. Might be locked in map 5 and maybe lifting on the straightaways as well to try and bleed off as much speed as possible. I think this is going to be quite easy for Pressey to do. It might actually be a team orders call to maybe get the 94 ahead and to try and support the 71 and get him to the end of the race by any means necessary. The gap is just 3/10 of a second.
Exactly correct. 3 to 4/10 the gap between them. Pressey closing in on Pelletier Sharp. 2nd place getting closer as well. Ryan and McDonough separated by just 1 second. The majority of drivers are not good to go to the finish. Looking at McDonough, looking at Ryan, they have to save that fuel. That's where Pressey and Pelletier Sharp can come in. Although Lily Sharp did not pit since lap 79, Liv, she is seriously on the back foot.
Yeah, Sharp was the first to kick off that 2nd cycle. I'd want to call it the final cycle of the race, but it might not be for our French driver here. She's let Pressey through, and Pressey's now holding half a second ahead, but you see just in the back of shot there, that's Edson Santos. He set a 25.7 after exiting the pit lane last time because he was good to go to the end. He's gone 2/10 faster than anyone else. He's looking now to try and put Sharp and Cressy a lap down, which will help the 71's fuel number, but it will not help her position on track.
Battles starting to get close between drivers. Liv, Colin McDonough and Christina Ryan now 7/10 apart. Nick Pressey, Lily Pelletier Sharp 8/10 apart. Looking at these final 18 laps of racing, who do you think is going to be our biggest mover?
I think Zach Mitchell has done a great job. We know that he's maybe got the upper hand on fuel. He's on the back now of Carmen Sienna, just a few tenths away. I think those two may be equal on fuel, but they could try and make headway towards this pack running between 2nd and 5th, who are going to be at a significant disadvantage to the end of the race. I think the 69's had a great run so far, and he's going to be able to top it off with potentially an outside shot at a top 5.
4/10 and now shrinking. Colin McDonough, Christina Ryan, they get closer still. If Christina Ryan has the advantage, it may be in her best interest just to ride behind Colin McDonough, knowing that the fight is only for 2nd.
Yeah, it's the longer that she can wait, the more patient she can be, the easier it'll be to find that extra fuel when she needs it to the end of the race. But she doesn't follow the 39 down on the front stretch to follow the draft. That's the key thing. That's why she wants to sit behind right now. So potentially she thinks she's almost there on fuel and maybe is trying to save the tire more than anything right now.
16 to go, about to be 15 to go. If you just tuned in or if you've been with us since practice, thank you so much for hanging around. This is round 2 of the ABN Champ Car World Series from iRacing's Homestead-Miami Speedway. 14 laps to go next time by, and it's been the Edson Santos show all day long. Looking at Sienna and Mitchell, they've been trading blows all day long, just swapping spots, swinging at each other, and here they go again. The Australian, the rookie, Mitchell to the left-hand side of the American, an extremely wide line out of turn number 4, Liv, and now Mitchell has to defend.
Yeah, a great move from the 69. Carmen Sienna has to slot back in behind, running out of time now to try and fight this back, but ultimately I think with them both being in a little bit of a save mode, there's nothing stopping one driver from getting back around if they build up the run. It's just a matter of timing it and getting the advantage on their preferred line. I think Mitchell's trying to cover off that low side, preventing Sienna from going there. She's going to have to run high. There's clean air and there's a big run off the corner, but it's a longer line. It's going to take you a little bit longer to get to corner exit.
2nd place, like an accordion. Christina Ryan will catch up to Colin McDonough, but then just hang back. She got within 2/10 last time, and now it's 4/10 and getting a bit closer between them. The two drivers just playing almost mind games, if you will. It's going to be 11 laps to go this time by. Ryan and McDonough both pitted on lap 81, but Ryan has been biding her time, and look at 6th place. Carmen Sienna now gets all the way around Zach Mitchell, and it looks like the 69 is into the pits. He last pitted, what was it? What was it before Sienna? I couldn't remember, Liv, but Zach Mitchell has come in, and now his fight right before the checkered flag comes to a halt.
And that looked very quick on entry as well. I'm not sure whether he got down to the speed limit in time, but that is our battle for 6th place completely uncaught, and actually some question marks now being shown about how much fuel these drivers actually have. Whether
Ian is also in.
The bird has come up, they're both having to make this final stop. Now the question becomes who can make it to the end of the race. Pelletier Sharp pit first. She's still out on track, but surely her days are numbered. That was a scrape of the wall there almost for race leader Edson Santos, who's just watching these two battle.
2nd place, almost swapped positions, Liv. Now Colin McDonough extending over Christina Ryan by 1.3 seconds, and that could be the battle for the silver medal. Ryan just goes high out of turn number 2. It looks like lap traffic may have been a factor. Almost 2 seconds now, the gap, and Nick Pressey could challenge for 3rd. Fewer than 10 to go, 7 at the line.
You see Carmen Sienna exit pit lane here, and Zach Mitchell has made that undercut work. They've both had to make the stop. Bryce Sosa now follows them in as well. He's fallen the field down from that penalty at the start of the race. But yeah, Christina Ryan choosing to let Edson Santos by is now going to follow the number 20, maybe to save that little bit more fuel. Maybe just to try and use him as the pick when Santos inevitably goes to catch Colin McDonough. You see down on pit exit, that's Bryce Sosa, I believe, making that turn. We've got 6 laps to go at the line. You are going to need to have maybe 3 gallons of fuel to get to the end of this race. We'll see who has it in them.
Carmen Sienna went green, 26 seconds flat. The 96 is just 1 second behind Zach Mitchell and trying to reel him in. Sienna has to be still and use that draft, Liv. It's 5 laps to go.
And Christina Ryan doesn't quite have the pace here. She's falling back even further. Colin McDonough, 3 tenths faster that time by. I think he's decided it's go time. He must either have the fuel or he's decided he needs to make the pit stop, and we won't know until he gets back around, and whether he takes the checkered flag or whether he takes that hard left turn. And that is exactly what he's going to do. He's decided he can't make it, pulls down onto the expert with 5 laps to go. We'll make a splash and dash here. We'll probably opt not to take tyres. Christina Ryan will inherit 2nd place again. And now that falling back behind Edson Santos looks like a genius move, because if that's given her any more room to go, it's taken a lap off her race distance as well. She
3 to go this time
just be able
by.
to make it happen.
8 tenths the gap between Zach Mitchell and Carmen Sienna. Lily Pelletier Sharp, Mo Perry now going up through. Huge battle up here for 4th, 5th, and 6th. Perry, Pelletier Sharp, and McDonough motionless. The 54, the 71 side by side down that back straight, and now it looks like they're going to come down into the pits. The 71 went down low, looked like she was going to come in. She won't. Perry peels away into 4th. 2 to go next time by, Liv.
Look at that lap time from this number 71 here. Last time by a 29, now a 30.1. She is not good on fuel, but she's going to try and make it work this way. Try and limp every lap she can out of that tank. Maybe praying for a caution to neutralize this. But she's down in map 8, surely. Is maybe now going to look towards pit lane. No. Is going to try and stay out, but she's running about 20 miles an hour down on the rest of the field. Made that 30. And she's about to fall a 2nd lap down from Edson Santos here. And potentially make it to the end, but potentially fall back behind Soy, who's only 7 seconds back now.
On the white flag lap, and what a race it has been for Edson Santos. Right now up 27 seconds on Christina Ryan, looking to a much closer fight. This is going to be 6th and 7th. Tucker Sawyer, Colin McDonough, 4 tenths of a second, and Colin McDonough looks to get around that 19. Checkered flag is in the air. Tucker Sawyer will beat Colin McDonough to the line by 3 tenths of a second. Unofficially, Edson Santos, your winner. Christina Ryan in 2nd to the tune of 27 seconds. Unofficially 1 lap off the pace. Edson Santos putting in a brilliant performance, and he will celebrate on that back straight. The 2nd round of the ABN Champ Car World Series ends with a knockout blow. Edson Santos lapping the field in its entirety. Christina Ryan in 2nd, Nick Pressey in 3rd, Mo Perry and Lily Pelletier Sharp rounding out your top 5. Fans, don't go anywhere. We're going to talk to some of our podium drivers in just a moment.
I mean, one final look back at Pelletier Sharp here. Her final lap of the race, a 32.3, running at an average of 164 miles per hour. But it was enough to hold off Tucker Sawyer for 5th place. A great showing from Pelletier Sharp, because that was a last-minute call, but one that worked out fantastically, as did it for the rest of the field, who were able to adapt and pull onto that 2-stop strategy. A quick look at our race results before we grab interviews with our drivers. And of course, it does start. Edson Santos, by a lap, started on the pole position, will stay on the pole position here, ahead of Christina Ryan, who also started second, finished second, and then Nicholas Pressey in third place. Mo Perry, the fourth driver, the only other driver to be one lap down from our leader. And then Lily Pelletier-Sharp stays out, fuel saves to the end, ahead of Tucker Sawyer, Colin McDonough, Zach Mitchell, and Carmen Sienna, all making emergency stops to finish 2 laps down. Bryce Sosa finishes 3 down, and then Eli Sassett, Evan Eisenman, George Ward, Matthias Marcamini, and Dakota Pierce. Your 5 retirements from today's caution-free race. And it does not look like we have Edson Santos available just yet. So, Rit, do you want to take an interview with our 3rd place finisher here, Nicholas Pressey?
The Brooklyn pilot in the number 94 coming home with a bronze medal, Nick Pressey. Brilliant race today. You end up on the 3rd step on the podium. Looking at the point standings unofficially headed into our break, you're going to be 9 digits behind Tucker Sawyer. And headed into this break here, thinking forward, the championship is very much alive.
Yeah, today, if I'm being honest, I'm feeling a little conflicted. 3rd place is great, but to be lapped, for the whole field to be lapped, there's something ethereal about that it makes you wonder, what are you missing? At least when it comes to ovals. Tucker's going to be strong as usual on the road courses, and he actually had a really good finish today. So no room to mull about and wonder what to do as far as road courses. It really is, or what to do about a shortcoming. We can't afford shortcomings. Is what I suppose that we have learned today. So we're going to look back at what we did today and try and see what we can figure out for the upcoming ovals on the schedule.
3rd place, a fantastic finish. Congratulations on your bronze medal. I'm sure friends and sponsors are going to be happy about this as well.
Yeah, Drip Diecast and Collectibles will be happy with the 3rd place finish. There was a real shot at a 3-4-5 there in the mid stages of the race, but the fuel numbers just were a little too weird. So it didn't work out this time. We'll work on it. We'll figure it out. We're a smart bunch over at MPM that we really like to work on things, figure stuff out. The upcoming ovals and road courses, fuel numbers, fuel stretch, it's going to take a bit of time, but I do have faith in this group.
Great run today. We'll see you after the break. Congratulations on 3rd. Liv, you've got tonight's silver medalist.
I sure do. Christina Ryan, welcome back to the broadcast booth. A 2nd place finish from tonight's campaign, and a tricky fuel save there. We saw a late move from you behind Edson Santos. Did you have the fuel for lap 125, or was that a play just to get to the checkered flag there? Christina, do we have a copy?
Yeah. Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I did have enough to make it, but to be real with you, I wasn't confident that McDonough could make it on fuel, but if he could, I knew he was going to be burning up way too much gas to really fight at the end. So the real reason why I dropped behind Edson was once he was going to have to, if McDonough wasn't going to run himself out of gas, he was going to have to drop back, and it just let me save a little bit extra so that if we did get lapped, I was able to push on that last lap, basically, because I was marginal. I made it right to 125. I had like 1.0 when I crossed the line. So if we stayed on the lead lap, I wouldn't have been able to fight him. But if we both went a lap down, I would have been able to kick it up on the last lap and try and get him down the backstretch or something. He, I think, burned up too much coming out because we were on the same strategy, but I think he just burned up a little too much to get to me, which is fair. That's kind of what he had to do. But I think we just played it smart, just played it safe, and that's how she wrote.
Yeah, of course, not the start to the season you wanted last week, but a great way to bounce back. You were looking forward to the next couple of rounds, try and continue that charge. We head to Barber in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, I don't have Barber, so I'm probably gonna miss that one. But no, it's just I don't particularly enjoy driving these cars, but it's such a staple of ABN, so it's always fun to come back. Plus, I've already won a championship, so it's just fun to be there and be like, oh, there's a champion in the field. So I enjoy it though. The car looks nice. It's fun to drive. The strategy was fun today for sure. Yeah, I mean, it was a good day, solid day overall. We were a little too aggressive at the very start, but I think it was worth it to try and give ourselves enough of a gap so that when we had to start saving more aggressively, we could. And I didn't want to pit in a way that would put me subject to being in the hairball that was kind of like fifth on back. It seems like the first 3 or 4 cars broke away, and then it was like pandemonium behind there. I really didn't want to be in that. Didn't work out for me last week when I was in that. So it was just a clinical kind of quiet day. So.
I do recommend you buy Barber. It's a fantastic track to me. But of course, congratulations, second place finish. Shout outs, sponsors, take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. My roommate called me a podium Andy. So I guess we're living up to that. Another podium to add to the collection. So above all else, though, right before I got into the car tonight, I got word that one of our good friends, Wolfie, passed away, and that had me pretty torn up. So thoughts with him and his family, racing with him on board tonight. He was always a really big supporter of me and the things we got into, and he was a great friend for all of us. So thinking of him more than anything else, and glad we had a good run for him.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks.
Fans at home, that's going to do it for another race in the ABN books. Thank you so much for tuning in. What a race. What a domination by Edson Santos. And he's going to be going into the break with a lot on his mind and maybe a championship in his future as well. Liv, we get a break from this madness and we come back in 2 weeks at Barber, where again, it's going to be an entirely different game from what we saw tonight. I'm thrilled for the rest of this championship.
Yeah, like I said, Barber, one of my favorite road courses on the service. I'm so excited for us to finally go there. Very technical. There's going to be a lot of strategy at play, and that roller coaster down at turns 6, 7, 8. There's nothing like getting it thrown in and nailing the landing on the exit of the corner.
We'll see in 2 weeks' time when the green flag flies at Barber. Until then, everybody, please do stay safe, take care of each other, and we will see you all around the corner.